The following podcast is a Deep Shallow Dive production exclusive.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
No, honestly, I'm glad we were able to make this work. I know this is definitely challenging, and I'm glad we've got the internet going. Anyway, listen, everybody, we have a special guest. This is probably my first, let's say, Deep Shallow Dive exclusive guest interview, and this is Sam Shulman. I told you guys before that, I was connected with a young man that is in the West Bank. So Sam, really, really appreciate you joining us here. So why don't we start off with just like helping everybody understand, first of all, where you are, and then give us a little background on yourself.
Hey Ray, I'm not very young, by the way.
Okay.
But my name is Sam Shulman. I live in the West Bank. I'm from the West Bank, lived here my entire life. I also have worked in Tel Aviv for a few years. I work in the technology sector in general. And I know a lot about the politics in this area. I researched this. I talked to a lot of people. I worked with a few NGOs in the area. And I can see some perspectives that most people here can't see, either Israelis or Palestinians, because Israelis are fed up by the Israeli narrative to a very extreme degree, where they can't see the bigger picture. The same with Palestinians. Most of them, they have never met an Israeli or Jewish person, and they don't know much about it.
And by the way, just so everybody knows, so you are 100% Palestinian.
Yes,
so
I'm Palestinian.
We don't have to say the exacts, but you were born either in Gaza or the West Bank, or were you born in a different country?
I was born in the West Bank. I'm definitely Palestinian. I'm not even Palestinian Israeli. I wasn't born in Israel. I lived until in 2021 in the West Bank. I never left the West Bank until I was 21.
Okay. And then that's when you went and lived in Tel Aviv for a little while?
No, I lived in Tel Aviv for a little while, not more than 6 years ago.
Okay. How far is Tel Aviv from the West Bank?
Well, Tel Aviv is closer to the West Bank than Gaza is to the West Bank. So, Tel Aviv is halfway between the West Bank and Gaza.
Okay, got it. All right. Let's start off with what you were talking about. You what I thought was interesting when we had our initial conversation is, even though you are 100% Palestinian, you're really coming at this very objectively, which is very interesting to me. So help us understand what you think the Palestinians don't understand, or what you think, I guess, we as the Western world don't understand about the Palestinians.
Okay. First of all, you think Palestinians are poor. We are not. Here, in Ramallah, for example, which is the capital of the West Bank right now, of Palestine, where the authority is, there's everything you can think of. Nice buildings, nice neighborhoods. Cars here are better than the cars in your street, mostly, unless you are in LA or something. And the West Bank in general is, it hasn't modernized it just modernized recently in the last 20 years, but there's a lot of money here. There's a lot of opportunities here. So it's not what you think. You don't imagine a very old place or a very huts here and there. There's nightclubs, there's malls, bowling alleys, everything you can think of. This is the first thing you need to know about Palestinians. The second thing is to know about us, which is counterintuitive in a way. In the entirety of Palestine, there's not a single airport, there's not a single port, there's not a single train station. So you see how counterintuitive it is. So there's an airport in Disney World, this new world itself has an airport, but in the entirety of this country, there's no airport, and that is because of the security reasons of the Israeli government.
Okay. So let me understand this. So what you're saying is, first of all, you said in the West Bank, it's not like we should be picturing a third world country. You're saying the West Bank, which is where the Palestinian, a big segment of Palestinians, what is it, like 2 million? Is
2
it
million,
is it
yes.
2?
2 million in the West
Okay,
Bank,
2 million.
2 million in Gaza.
Okay, 2 million. Okay, 2 million in the West Bank, 2 million in Gaza. So then in the West Bank, how many Israelis live in the West Bank?
0 Israelis. Unless you count settlers as being in the West Bank, then there's 800,000 Israelis. But we don't usually count them as living in the West Bank because they don't follow by the rules of the authority, because the West Bank is divided right now to 3 sectors. One of the sectors is ours, which is Palestinian, and the other 2 are not.
Okay, is that what they call like Sector A, B, and
Yes,
C?
Area A, B, and C.
Area A, Area B, Area C. Okay, so then where do you guys live, in Area A?
Definitely, yeah. There's no Palestinians in Area C.
Okay, so Area A, there's 2 million Palestinians, and of the West Bank geography, what percentage is Area A? Is it 50% of the West Bank?
20%.
20%?
Yes.
Okay, so in the West Bank, Area A, 2 million Palestinians, and that's roughly 20% of the West Bank. And then who lives in Area B?
Area B is there's some Palestinians in Area B, which is usually areas like that are very harsh. It's very life there is very hard because there's no police, like no police force can enter there. The Israelis can't go there. The Palestinians can't go there. So there's a lot of crime. There's a lot of stuff going on. Area C doesn't have, like, very, very, very few people living there, on the hundreds, not more than that.
Okay, so nobody really lives in Area C?
Yes.
Okay, and then those 800,000 Israeli settlers, they're in Area B?
No, there's no Palestinians in Area C, but you can find Israelis in settlements, which is usually Area C and B.
Okay. And the reason I want to talk about this for a second is because, I haven't really spent a lot of time talking about the West Bank, and so this is great that we're understanding it through you, which is better than me just researching it. But one of the topics that seems to be gathering steam is the rise of these settlers, these Israeli settlers. And I'm trying to understand, are they trying to take over the West Bank and kick out the Palestinians? Or is there enough room in the West Bank in Area B and C? Is that where their settler communities are being built? Do you guys feel like the Israelis now are trying to kick you guys out of the West Bank and really, I guess, out of Area A, or no?
Well, the truth is very, very hard here because it's not easy. Like easy. Like if I want to give you a straight answer or just like simple answers, I would say yes. But it's not like that, because first of all, calling the Israeli settlers in the West Bank settlers, for a lot of them, it's very offensive because they were sold on the idea that first of all, most of them came to the West Bank because land and housing is cheap. So what the Israeli government did back in the 2000s, they built large cities in the West Bank in Area C, mostly areas where nobody is living, just like empty land. And they built whole communities, whole cities, where it's cheaper. It's cheaper than Tel Aviv, cheaper than the other areas, a lot cheaper, like 25% of the price. And people would go there. They call it Judea and Samaria. They don't call it West Bank because for them it ties to the Bible in some way. A lot of them are religious. So for them, they don't even they don't even know the full truth. And remember, being an Israeli inside these settlements or inside anywhere in Israel, you rarely hear what Palestinians are talking about. You rarely hear what the Americans hear about, because especially recently, the American media is starting to be objective about it, starting to show both stories in a way. Still, it shows more Israeli side, but like you hear some stuff as an American, but Israelis they never hear about any of this. And talking about them coming to get us out, some of their kids, they do bad stuff. But it's not as simple. It's not like the 800,000 just came there and they want to kick us with torches and kill us and take our homes. No, there's a lot of housing for the Israelis. The problem is the government itself should not have done those housing in the West Bank. And the reason they did that is because for 20, 30 years, they had a plan, a long-term plan on how to deal with all of this.
Okay. All right. So you know what? I'm actually glad you said that. So it's not like those 800,000 Israeli settlers and the 2 million Palestinians. You guys are you living in harmony, or are you just not? You're not living in harmony,
No,
but you're also not bothering each other.
no, we are bothering each other definitely. Think of it, yeah. Think of it as this: there's separation between the two. Even when there's only 100 meters separating one community with the next, there's total separation between them. We know nothing about them, they know nothing about us. We think of them as the enemy, they think of us as the enemy. There's not a lot of don't think about it, okay, we're going with guns or they're going with guns to kill us, but it's just you have your area and we have our area, and nobody knows anything about that. A total blackout. So what we think when we think settler, we think person who comes to steal our land. What they think when they think Palestinian, if they think terrorists coming to kill us. Neither this side or neither this thing is real. Neither this idea is real. But the thing is, nobody knows a thing about the other, and the local news, it gives the Israelis and the Israelis something, and it gives us something. Even if we're in the same place, it tracks the IP, it tracks your location, and gives you your own narrative.
Okay. And so, are there two sets of grocery stores, two sets of, the
Yes,
infrastructure that's needed? Post office for mail, everything. You're saying it's like just completely separated. Like you don't go to. You said there's nightclubs. There's whatever. When you go there, it's an all Palestinian nightclub. So everything is separated.
Yeah, total separation, 100%. So if Israelis come to the West Bank, to the Palestinian areas, they will be in danger. Same with the Palestinians.
Wow, man, that's amazing. How much is there a lot of business in the West Bank? Like, are there companies headquartered there? Is there industry there? Like, what do the people do for work?
Yes, actually, there's a lot of the GDP of the West Bank is not small. There's
Wow.
big corporations, at least 10, which have 1,000 plus employees. There's a whole industry here. Like if you came to the West Bank and you outside the walls that you see that is surrounding the West Bank, if you just came to do business, you will not find a lot of differences. Like lawyers, accountants, the same thing. We dress the same as you.
Okay.
Especially recently, the younger generations, they speak fluent English.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, you know what? That's great to hear. So then right now in the West Bank, is it life as normal with everything going on in Gaza, which is
No.
it seems like it's crazy. Okay, it's not life as normal.
Definitely not. Of course not. For a lot of reasons. Of course, the danger levels here started going up. not just when the October 7th happened, but starting from like 2023 from the start, because the Israeli army was doing a lot of stuff in the West Bank. A lot of people got killed. I'm not sure the exact reason for the Israeli army. Maybe the right-wing government, because Netanyahu and his right-wing party got hold of power. Especially in 2023, there were a lot of protests against them. So yeah, they became more extreme in the West Bank. This is the first reason. The second reason is after October 7th, there were 100,000, 150,000 people working in Israel, Palestinians working in Israel, in Jerusalem, and all of those places. And those people got cut off because everything closed up. So from that, you can see the effects on the economy. 5% of the population of the West Bank lost all of its economic stability, and that affected the economy in a very hard way.
Okay, got it. Is Jerusalem technically in the West Bank, or is it near the West Bank?
No, it's near the West Bank. The West Bank is not very far from Jerusalem. It's like half an hour.
Okay, and then let's talk about Jerusalem for a second. That is divided into East Jerusalem and West Jerusalem, if I'm not mistaken. And the Palestinians,
yes,
you guys occupy and own East Jerusalem, whereas the Israelis own West Jerusalem.
We don't own it. We don't own anything actually. East Jerusalem is considered technically Israeli territory. People there can claim the Israeli passport and become fully Israeli citizens. Some of them don't, or a lot of them don't choose to do that. But it's technically Israeli. The police there is Israeli. The ambulance, everything is Israeli. The best thing that describes the situation is I met a Jewish person like in my early 20s who was there from West Jerusalem. He spent 5 years there. He came from Germany, and in those 5 years, across the street it was a Palestinian area. So across the street from him, there were this Palestinian area, and he was in the Israeli area. And he never crossed that street to go to the Palestinian area. So he was afraid for his life for 5 years, always scared about where, if he was up at night or if he was late, some Palestinian will come and hurt him. Until at some point, he saw this Palestinian protester who was speaking English, and he had the courage to go talk to him. And when he went to talk to him, he was surprised that, okay, this person isn't scary. He's talking. He's a bit left-leaning. And then he went with him to the West Bank and talked to a lot of people. And I mentioned his story in my book in more details. But like in short, the Jerusalem is a lot of Palestinians on one side, Israelis on the other side. The whole area is Israeli. The Palestinians themselves don't want to deal with the Israelis because they're facing a lot of evictions because of the Israelis. So they're somewhat protesting the authority by not taking the passport and by just like protesting everything, not doing what the authorities want them to do. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You know what? I mean, it is incredibly confusing. I think the only way to ever really understand it would be to come over there and see it with your own eyes, which is something I don't think anyone's going to do. So let's end this section on, and correct me if I'm wrong. So fundamentally, in the West Bank and even in Jerusalem, East and West, it's really two separate everything. The Palestinians do their own thing. The Israelis do their thing. There's separate schools, separate hospitals, and I'm talking the West Bank specifically right now. Separate everything, and we've got roughly 2 million Palestinians in the West Bank.
Yes.
Roughly 800,000 Israeli settlers in the West Bank, and they're basically living two separate lives. They're not really interacting, but at the same time, it's not like it's harmonious. Did I sum that up correctly?
Yes, you summed it up perfectly.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to, let's talk about the Palestinian Authority. I want your opinion on the Palestinian Authority. Then I want your opinion on the Netanyahu administration. And then I want your opinion on Hamas. Like, who's at fault? And what do you really think about these three groups?
So let's start with Netanyahu first, because it's easier to sum up. So, like, I protested against Netanyahu in 2023 for a long time. He took his right-wing government, which he needed them for, because he was losing the elections. So he allied himself with the ultra right-wing, more like what you call white supremacists in your area. They are
Okay,
like
yeah.
very religious people who want all Palestinians gone, no matter what it takes. And he aligned with them, I think, out of necessity, not like he needed to align with them at first. But yes, he doesn't. Anyways, so I protested against him for a long time, and a lot of the Israeli youth are know what he is able to do, what evil he is capable of doing. Because first of all, he wanted to take full control of the government by separating the court from, like, by making the court more right wing as he wants.
Yeah.
Uh,
And this was that entire judicial
Yeah.
reform, which seemed like it was a big deal. And then October 7th happened and it all just ended, right? Like that was
Yes.
not going well for him.
Yes, and this is why I always talk about Hamas in two words. They're incompetent and they're not able to look far ahead in the future. Because for them to do what they did on October, not to mention how awful it was what they did, it's a stupid move. Because Netanyahu was losing. There's a lot of protests where I was there personally, and I could see the protests month over month getting stronger. Everybody everywhere was talking about what he is doing. At first, the judicial reforms, people did not know exactly what they were. By the end of October, by the end of 2023, people started to really know what he was doing. And then Hamas goes and does this October 7th. And if once they did that, they given Netanyahu everything he wanted. He can now stay in power. He can now say that, okay, because of the war, because of everything, and he sold himself on the idea that he is the protector of Israel. He's a Mr. Security. He's everything like that. So Hamas is like what they did, other than the stuff they hurted with Israelis, other than the stuff they did to Gaza and the Israeli army coming to Gaza. They just handed Netanyahu like a wild card, and he just won everything out of that. And he stayed in power, and he can stay in power more now. And people started to forget about those reforms, or people are start talking about them, but it's not 10% of what it used to. Because when people fear for their lives, they're not going to think about this stuff. And this is a completely.
I totally get that. Let me ask you something. And by the way, if you don't want to answer this, don't answer it. What you just said, though, I think is so important because basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, what you just said was Hamas is a bunch of idiots for even doing October 7th because they were winning. It's almost like they were winning by not even being in the game because the judicial reforms and everything that was going on was already weakening Netanyahu and it was already causing him problems. Then October 7th happens and all of a sudden the game has changed. He's able to now shut down all that stuff and focus on the bigger picture of, oh, look, everybody, we've been invaded. These terrorists, they killed 1,200 of us, and almost like squash everything that was going on. Had Hamas not done October 7th, the chances are maybe Netanyahu would not even be in power right now. Do you agree with that? I have a second part to that, but do you
Definitely.
agree with
Plus,
that?
like the country was dividing very much between the right and the left, like strongly, like what is happening to the U.S. right now. Imagine if right now Afghanistan or something comes and attacks the US, everything will just like all problems will go away and you'll focus on security. And this is what Hamas.
No, exactly.
Like if I was a conspiracy theorist, I would think that Netanyahu would somehow convinced Hamas to do October 7th. But that's definitely not true. He did not.
Okay.
He did not do that.
Okay. All right. Now that was what I was going to ask, because hell, I kind of am a conspiracy theorist, and I think that's plausible. You don't think that it is at all plausible that Netanyahu and the 2 or 3 main leaders of Hamas have some type of, backroom door, and that's why those guys live in Qatar. That's why they're not even really, you never see them in the media that much. You don't think that's possible at all?
No, 0% chance of that.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, that's fair.
I can dive in details why, but I have been around a lot of these Hamas members, and I can tell you, like, no way in hell that anybody can infiltrate them to this degree. Plus, like, it's not how it works in Israel. Like, in short, no, that's not what happened.
Okay, all right. You know what? Listen, I mean, I've always found Hamas very goofy and very weird. I think the whole thing is strange. But go ahead, because
it's not that they're goofy. It's not like the way Hamas thinks. It's a different way that most people in the West don't understand. Even Netanyahu himself don't understand, because for them, they want to free Palestine, and they want to actually more than free Palestine. They want to make a state, like a big state for them. And for them, the way they think, they were 100% certain they will win. So they're fighting. Imagine yourself, you're playing chess and you're 100% certain you're going to win this game. Are you going to think 5 steps ahead? No. You're just going to move this chess piece to this chess piece and kill it, and that's it. So for them, they're not thinking ahead in time. They're not thinking about, okay, maybe this will help me in the long run, even if it's a win right now, because they're 100% certain they're going to win. And the way these people, their psychology is very different. And yes.
Okay. All right. Listen, that's totally fair. So you don't think there's any chance that behind the scenes, Hamas and Netanyahu we're in that together?
No.
Okay. All right.
The most that happened, the extreme version of this, is that some parts of the Israeli intelligence got a wind that Hamas is doing this, and they did not tell anybody. That's the most that could have happened. And this scenario is very hard to happen. Like, it's very unlikely, because it should go through this motion of this and this and this. Plus, the Israeli intelligence is not as extreme as Netanyahu is. There's a lot of stuff, but it's like.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I mean, there were reports that Egypt, warned Netanyahu.
Yeah. That's
okay,
true.
That stuff is true. Okay. That's why
Yes,
when
definitely.
I heard that, and then all of a sudden it's like on that one day, the invincible Iron Dome is penetrated by guys flying in on parachutes. It just didn't make sense to me. But you know what? I'll take your word for it. You're basically saying, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like, why did it take the Israelis 6 hours to respond that Saturday, October 7th? Why didn't the Iron Dome work? Do you have any ideas?
Simple. It's a lot of planning from Hamas and the Israeli focusing on the West Bank, not Gaza at the time. Plus, like, we tend to overestimate the Israeli intelligence and the Israeli army. That happened because in the early 70s, they did a lot of amazing stuff. They won a few wars against the Arabs, which the Arab armies weren't very trained, weren't very good. So we tend to overestimate them to a point where when we're thinking about them, we're thinking about some Mission Impossible type of thing, Tom Cruise or something. But that's not the case. They make mistakes too. Like
Okay, that's fair. That's totally. I mean, I can't say I thought that, but now that you say it, I
Yeah, it's
will.
worth questioning.
It's worth considering. Absolutely.
And I have considered it for months. Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So finish out on your thoughts on Netanyahu. I totally get he's aligned himself with this far right, extreme. I guess you're right. It's almost like white supremacist, and that's I think this guy Itamar Ben Gavir and Smoltrich and the guys that are considered far right. He had to align himself with those guys because kind of that's all he had left. What do you think's going to happen to Netanyahu when this is all done?
Just FYI, like they're not white. The right wing government or the right wingers in Israel not white. A lot of them are actually mixed color.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, just wanted to clarify that. Anyway, like I think what is going to happen here is a lot of Netanyahu is going to drag this thing as much as he can because his end goal is not to kill Hamas. It's not to get people from Gaza. His end goal to pressure the Palestinians to get out. And he's doing a lot of that, pressuring us to get out in every little detail of daily life, from like putting border control everywhere, like to push us out, to like little things like if you go out and then you can't come back. If you so he's doing a lot of stuff because the end goal for his party, the Likud, which started in the 90s or that, their end goal is to take the West Bank, not Gaza. They don't want Gaza.
Yeah.
And that's why they got out of it in 2005. They want the West Bank, and that was their entire plan from the start. They want the West Bank for a lot of reasons. Some of those reasons considered like make sense because they want the West Bank is big. If it stays in the heart of Israel, it would be it will affect its security in a big way. Plus, there's a lot of ties to these lands with the Torah and all of that stuff. So 0% chance for Israel to let go of the West Bank.
Okay, okay. And the
Yeah.
West Bank, I mean, do you believe in the religious reasons for that? Like they want it because Jerusalem's there and then Bethlehem and Jesus and eventually one day, Jesus is going to come back and he is going to come back to the West Bank is I might have gotten that wrong, but that's how I understand the religious component of it.
Yeah, it's somewhat that's the way they think about it. But me myself, I don't really get religion very much. But I know they believe it.
Okay.
Everything they do, like they definitely believe it to a degree that I can't even begin to understand. Plus, other than they believe it, their security forces want it, and they can't even imagine an Israeli state without the West Bank.
Okay.
And that's what most people don't get wrong. They think that they want Gaza where they actually don't want Gaza, and they're playing this wrong game. Netanyahu is a very smart guy. He's a historian. He doesn't think this year and next year. He was the first person in the Middle East to think outside the box and think, okay, we don't have to make peace with the Palestinians to make peace with the Arabian, with the Saudi Arabia and all of these countries.
Yeah.
No, we can like just skip over Palestinians because it's the time. And yes, this is pretty much it. Like they're
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I truly feel Netanyahu absolutely thinks Palestinian people are the lowest form of life and he could care less about them. I think you're totally right in saying he wants to get rid of them. The question is, does he want to get rid of them by trying to export them to Egypt and Syria and Lebanon and other countries? Or does he not care? He'll ethnically cleanse them and he'll literally kill 4 million Palestinians if he can.
No, he can't kill us. He can't kill us, and nobody can. But for him, he just wants the Palestinians out, and he's smart enough to know that no, we can't kill them. We can't. We should find a diplomatic way to get them out. Trust me, if he could get us out to Texas and give each one of us a villa there or a very big house, he will do it. Do it because all he wants is just go out, leave us, let us take the West Bank. And if he could give us Gaza and get us out, yeah, he would.
Okay. Do you have any friends in Gaza? Do you know any people in Gaza? Like, what is it really like there right now? Is it awful?
Of course, definitely. Right now, I have not met any of the people I know from Gaza after the war, but I can't even imagine how their life right now is because it was hell before the war. So before the war, for a lot of them, especially like everybody I know is in their 20s, they had to restart their lives 2-3 times already. So like their houses have been destroyed. They lost all of their economy at 15, and then they had to start over. And then at 20, and then they had to start over. And I actually, one of my coworkers, she's from Gaza. She came to the West Bank a few years ago, and it was the first time in her life that she saw a mountain. And I can remember the look on her face when she saw mountains for the first time, and she just stood there for 5 minutes saying nothing. So people from Gaza are, and if a lot of people like project it as they just want to kill Israelis or they want all that stuff, no. I met a lot of young people from there, and like they are barely surviving. They are barely surviving to a degree. All they think about is how do I get $5 a day to survive, you know?
And are you talking before the war or now that the war has happened?
Before the war. After the war, I don't have a lot of information.
Oh my God. Okay, so it was awful before the war.
Yes.
God only knows what it's like now. You hear this open air prison. Gaza is an open air prison. Gaza is a concentration camp. Israel controls the food, water, and electricity that goes in and comes out. I mean, is that all true?
Well, it's true, but it's also true because of something else. Hamas is a terrorist group, or if you don't want to call it a terrorist group, we can call it a resistant group, whatever. What I'm focusing on here is it's a group. It's not a government. So they should not have taken the government in 2006. Okay, and I was saying that even back then. I was like 16 something. Like I was saying that people should, like Hamas should not have taken the government, because if they have taken the government in Gaza, they will start to be more like the BA, the authority in the West Bank, and they have to deal politics. And if they start doing politics, they will start to be corrupt. They will start to consent to some stuff and all that stuff. So Hamas itself, it's not very good at governance. So that's why when they took power, they did not build infrastructure. They did not build an economy. They didn't even fix or repair the power stations or the the places where they filter like seawater. So they're like, it's like taking somebody who's in sales and making them CEO. They don't know how to do that. It's not their job. So Israel, of course, supplies the electricity, water, and they supply the electricity, water in the West Bank too, because there's no governments. The government in Gaza, Hamas, and the government in the West Bank, it's not really government. It's more like a regional manager, which
Yeah. Great. These are great analogies. I love these business analogies. It's like they're regional managers, they're mid-level management. They're not the CEOs of the companies. Okay, that makes sense. So what you're saying is in Gaza, I mean, do the civilians and the people, because there's 2 million people there, do they like Hamas or do they not like Hamas?
Definitely not. The only time that the civilians liked Hamas is in the like between 2002 and 2008 or 9, when Hamas did a lot of the second intifada. Hamas was a big star because they did a lot of stuff, so people liked them very much. But after that, I met hundreds of people from Gaza, and every one of them hates Hamas because they're at some point of time, I was dating the daughter of the niece of one of the leaders in Hamas.
Oh wow!
Not middle management, yeah, like not top leaders, not Khaled Mishal and all that stuff, but a degree below that. And she told me a story where he took her family to a barbecue, and they were going to this barbecue on top of a mountain, small hill, and they were like cooking meat and eating the barbecue, and he was signaling to young people from Gaza to go attack the borders of Gaza, knowing full well that they will die going to the borders, because like the borders have snipers, and like nobody is allowed to go near the borders. And he would just like eat meat with this like evil look in his eyes while he's telling them to go. But this type of talk, they will not hear it from anybody from Gaza, because she can never say that about her uncle or whatever, and nobody would. Plus, a lot of people there are very angry at the Israeli government. They're very angry at Israelis in general, because they hurted them so much, because they're not allowing them to like the economy to flourish and all of that stuff. And because of all of that anger, they fail to see how Hamas is also hurting them.
Okay.
So all of they're thinking about, they're only thinking about just
Okay. By the way, I love the fact that this conversation went in the direction of you sharing that you dated the daughter of a relatively high guy. That's a nice twist. I was not expecting that, my friend. I really appreciate you sharing that.
that's
Okay. All right. So to close out on, we've closed out on Netanyahu. We've kind of closed out on Hamas, or actually to close out on Hamas. So it sounds like maybe Hamas is more than what I've given them credit for, but they suck. Those guys suck. Netanyahu sucks. The people are suffering from both sides. Would you agree with all that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I can sum it up in 2 words. Netanyahu is evil. Hamas is incompetent, or like Palestinian leadership is incompetent.
Okay.
And the Israeli leadership right now is evil. Right now.
Okay.
Or in the past 20 years, because Netanyahu was there for 20 years.
Okay. Yeah, that guy, man, he's just a nightmare. Okay, let's talk about the Palestinian Authority a little bit, because again, that's something I haven't shared a ton on, but I just would love your thoughts on, like Mahmoud Abbas. Like, what is this guy? What is he trying to do right now? What are his goals?
Honestly, Mahmoud Abbas is just he's a middle management, and he knows it, and he's honestly saying that, oh, okay, I don't know what to do here. Like, this is above my pay grade.
Okay.
He's just saying that honestly. At one point in time, he came to the Israelis and he said, like give us something. Like, he is always talking in that way. Like, in short, the Palestinian Authority started out thinking that they know what they're doing, especially with Yasser Arafat. He was charismatic. He was somewhat, he knew how to play the game better than almost anybody. But they didn't see Oslo for what it is. They lost, especially, and they're now in the situation where they have no cards to play. The only card they can play, and they admitted to that, is that they're saying to the Israeli Authority, "We're out of here. You go take care of the West Bank, and we're out." If they this is the only card they can play, and it might give them some, but it's not a very powerful card.
You're saying the Palestinian Authority would say we're going to leave the West Bank? Who are you saying get out?
No, I'm saying if the Palestinian Authority, this is the only card they can play, saying that, okay, we're done taking care of the West Bank, you take care of it, and we're out. If they said that,
okay,
and some of their leaders was talking about this, discussing this possibility, because this is the only card they have left. They used before to have a card where, okay, we're helping you with this. If you don't allow us to do this, a lot of extremism, you will find here a lot of resistance, but they lost that card too, because they part of the Oslo agreement was to demilitarize and take the weapons of everybody in the West Bank. So yes, so
okay. And that was in I'm going to define for people what the Oslo Accords was, but the Oslo Accords did get signed. And has that been in effect since, I mean, I think that was like 1993 and 1995. Those have been in effect. Like are those actual governances that people are following, their rules?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because before the Oslo Accords, there were no BA. There were no government, Palestinian government in the West Bank.
Okay.
So the Oslo Accords, they put Palestinian government. Before that, they were Israeli government in the West Bank. And the problem is the Palestinian government did not see that did not see the future of the Oslo Accords. It will just be used against it and will just like give it control without any control. So they can't go, can't leave, they can't stay. Anything they will do after that, after signing the Oslo Accord, will be useless. But a lot of them admit that they're not really politicians. They did not know what to do, how the game works. I met with some of the people that were in the room when those agreements were signed. Where when the Israeli BA, when they met the Israelis in the 90s, and they said that the Palestinians would come not knowing what the topic was about, what the conversation was about, where the Israelis knew what kind of coffee the Palestinian loves to drink. So yeah, they did not know what to do. They did not know what they were doing.
They did not know what they were doing. Okay. And so Yasser Arafat, you mentioned, at least he was not middle management. He really was someone that
He's a leader, yeah.
Is a leader, understood the game. Did the people love him? Like, did Palestinians love Yasser Arafat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, he's the only leader that we actually loved.
Okay.
We're very proud of him until now.
Okay. Got it. Okay, you're saying you're very proud of him.
Yes.
Even up until now, not. It's not like anything's changed, right? You guys are still proud of him.
We're still proud of him. Maybe he should not have done Oslo, but like a lot of people got fooled. But yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, let me ask you this, man. This has been great. What do you think the role of the United States is? Like, what do you think the United States, like, do you think the United States is helping and wants to help the Palestinian people? Obviously, Israel's a tremendous ally for us. I don't know. Every day it's like something happens and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like we talk out of both sides of our mouth. I mean, do you have any thoughts on any of that?
Well, if you meant the United States, I would go into that. But I think what your question is about the future. And the future is like,
yeah, let's talk about that.
There's no future because I'm trying to say this without being very pessimistic, because this is not about optimism or pessimism. Because if we're talking about the two-state solutions, we're being naive, we're being ignorant, we're playing into the Oslo narrative where it's only a way for the Israelis to get more time to do what they want. Not the Israelis, more like Netanyahu party.
Yeah.
So we 100% should be pessimistic here. There's no two-state solution. There's no one-state solution. The Palestinian thing was over for 20 years. It's like the game is done. What we should now do is learn from it, learn from what happened, analyze the situation, and like the left party in the US, and that's what I'm doing all of this because I really believe in the left wing in the United States, in the progressive party, because we should learn a lot from this. Even the right wingers should learn from this because, like, I don't want to be pessimistic here, honestly, but sometimes this is how the game is played, and if you just keep saying, yeah, there's going to be two-state solution, you're just playing into their hands.
No, I get that. But I mean, okay, so you're saying there's not, I mean, a lot of people say there's no chance there's ever going to be a two-state solution. Then the question is, okay, if it's a one-state solution, is there a one-state solution? And then if so, no. Okay, so if there's not a one-state solution, then, I mean, what do you think's going to happen? Like, what happens to you and the 4 million? Well, let's start with, what happens to the 2 million in the West Bank, the 2 million in Gaza? Like, where are we a year from now? Where do you think we are 1 year from now?
Listen, when I'm thinking about all of this, I'm trying to be pragmatic, okay? So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm putting my emotions aside. If I'm playing a chess game, and right now the game is like I checkmate you, the game is over. You checkmate me, okay? So if I'm still thinking about the game when the game is over, I'm just like I don't know what I'm doing here. The game is already over. Israel right now, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when I would walk in the street, I see more Palestinian areas than Israelis. Right now, I swear, sometimes when I close my eyes, I don't. The West Bank seems like Tel Aviv, same like streets, same. It's not like Tel Aviv, but it's like some areas in Tel Aviv. So every 5 years, you see a difference here. So like, it's 100% over. In 30 years, the Palestinians here would be lower, smaller, everything. And in
Okay.
Gaza, like I really hope they survive all of this, and I really hope Hamas goes, because like for them, for the young people in Gaza more than anything, because I want them to have. I don't want them to, if like every 5 years they keep rebuilding, every 5 years they keep rebuilding,
Yeah,
because it's not fair for
that's
them.
horrible.
It's not fair for them to pay the price of this geopolitical game. Um, but what I'm saying is the game is over. Like it's not. The future is like what we can look now is learn from this game, um, learn from what happened. Maybe try to find a way for the Palestinian people to have more of a chance at surviving the next stage, which is.
Mm.
But it's not about the Palestinian state, because the Palestinian state is, anybody who's talking about the two-state solution is either ignorant or he's just buying time for the Israelis to take the West Bank.
Okay, okay. All right, all right. That's a bleak outlook. By the way, I meant to ask you this earlier. So, like the Palestinians, you guys that are in the West Bank, and then the Palestinians in Gaza, is there camaraderie there? Like, do you guys feel like you're one people, or is it even divided?
No, it's not divided. A lot of Palestinians in the West Bank are actually like following the BA. They believe in the BA, but
Mhm.
also we feel for Gaza a lot, although we don't agree with them politically sometimes. But when things are hard, politics stop meaning. Like I said in the start, when there's a war, you stop thinking about right and left wing. Um, but I disagree with what you said about my view being bleak or
Mm.
pessimistic, because the problem is like sometimes you have to understand how it's going to be able to move forward with a different solution. Because if we skip saying like, okay, we hope that Palestine will have independence and will have a state, we're just going back 20 years to Oslo. If we stop, okay, it's done, there's no solution here, maybe then we can come up with something that actually would work on real world.
No, I listen. I mean, I wasn't saying your solution is pessimistic. The way I look at it is okay, solution one is there becomes a Palestinian state and Palestine wins and the Palestinians win and they're back. That's option one. Option two is the Palestinians are completely either ethnically cleansed or they're moved out of the West Bank, out of Gaza, and they end up becoming refugees in Syria, Lebanon, Egypt, everything. And basically, 10 years from now, there are no Palestinians left in Israel. It's all Israeli Jews. That's option two. Option three, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what is option three? Is option three that this separation of lives just keeps continuing, and every 5 years or every 7 years we have a blow up? You see what I mean? Like, I don't think you're being pessimistic at all. I'm just trying to understand what is going to be the answer and what does
Let,
that
let me
area
rephrase.
look like.
Let me rephrase it in another way. So most of my family are Americans. Why most of them are Americans? Because a lot of people, they don't find any way to still exist in the West Bank. So they try
Mm.
to go to any country that would have them. and I'm in an area where there's a lot of potential for people to go to the United States. So a lot of them went. Most of them went in the 80s and 90s. So what I'm saying here is it's not going to be scenario A where Palestinians will get a state. It's not going to be scenario B where Palestinians will get out, because this is not happening. For Netanyahu to think that, oh, I have a good chance right now because of October 7th, I can kick people in Gaza out and like lie to them or fool them into going to Egypt and fool Egypt into opening the doors. This is not going to happen. What is going to happen, and what people who are who planned ahead before Netanyahu came, is that for the Palestinians to slowly, like decade after decade, either leave, either integrate, either go away. Not integrate because they're not allowed to be Israelis, or more people, more Palestinians will be more than Israelis in the area. So they're pushing the area little by little, annexing the state, the Palestinians. And this has been done through history a lot.
I hear you. So what you're saying is, I mean, that's kind of the answer right there. So maybe over time, gosh, the Palestinians are going to say, you know what, I just can't deal with this, and they do leave, and in 10 years, Israel is completely made up of Israelis, and there are no longer are Palestinians in there. I mean, that's possible, right? Sam, you there? Oh, I think I lost you. All right. Well, listen, we got disconnected there, but we're back, and that's okay. All right. Listen, Sam. First of all, I really appreciate your time, and it definitely is an incredibly complex discussion, and maybe something that once people listen, I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of questions, and if you're up for it, maybe we can do a follow-up where we can answer some of the questions and all that. But the last thing I just wanted you to share with us is, and I know this is hard, and I know it's hard to keep your emotions out of this, but as much as you can, I guess, what do you think is going to happen? What is the future?
So basically, what Netanyahu wants to do is to push the people of Gaza outside to Egypt. He's saying a lot of stuff. They will be there for a second and then they will come back, or he's saying go to Egypt because it's good for you. He's trying to convince the Egyptian government with the pressure from the United States and all of that. But none of this is going to happen. None of this is going to happen. He wants them out, but they're not going to come out. And none of the Palestinians, like we learned our lesson from 1984, where we left voluntarily and we could not come back. So people here are not going out. So what basically he is doing, and he knows that he's not going to kill Hamas. Like anybody knows that. Like anybody who has been in the army for 5 months knows this. So what is he basically doing is just killing Gazans for no reason, and because he doesn't care, that's why he's continuing to do that. And the next 6 months will not be any different. I just hope the Israeli left is able to do something about it. I read somewhere that one of his cabinet war cabinet resigned.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
there's
And by the way, you said the Israeli left, and yeah, the cabinet member that resigned is named Benny Gantz, and he really
Gantz.
is kind of the leader of the left. So what you're saying that you're hoping is that inside Israel and inside the higher levels, they basically have had enough of Netanyahu, and the left and the centrists take control and hopefully get rid of him, thus hopefully bringing an end to this war. I guess, man, it's hard to know what's going to happen.
Not bringing the end of this war. This is not going to end with the center left taking. Just like giving Gaza like a breather, giving Gaza, just giving them a ceasefire for them to be able to, yes, That's pretty much it. What is going to happen for the next 6 months? But I don't see that. Like I don't think that's probable because the Israeli right is very strong right now, and the Israeli young people mostly they're becoming more right wing for some reason. It's like everywhere in the world that's not happening, but it's very weird.
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. All right, my friend. Anything else? Do you have any last things you care to share,
Um,
or
I
anything
just
else
want to
you want to share?
I just want to say that I want people to not be blindly saying that I'm pro-Israel or pro-Palestine. Just think about this for a second and know the more extreme you are on the right, on the left, the more extreme you are with Israelis or Palestinians, the more you're either empowering Netanyahu or empowering Hamas. And for us, either way is just going to hurt us.
Okay. That is very well said. That is very well said. And you know what? You opened my eyes to a lot of things today. So I really do appreciate it. Take good care of yourself. You and I will absolutely stay in touch, and maybe we can check in with you, in a couple weeks, a month, something like that. I'd love to have you come back on, though. I really would, and we'll talk about other
Definitely, I
things
would,
and
Ray.
maybe answer some questions. Okay. All right, Sam. Thank you, man. Take care of yourself. Okay.
Good night. Have a good day.
All right. Good night. All right. Wow. Holy mackerel. All right. He's off. Anyway, I had written a bunch of things down, but you know what? I'm just going to kind of leave this at this, and maybe we'll pick this up a little bit on Monday because there are some things that I wanted to kind of ask him, and maybe I'll actually email him over the weekend. Like, I'm curious when he said there's no airports and there's no really, it seems like transportation. It's like, how do they travel? How does he get out of town, or can he travel? And then I'm curious about his passports and actually a bunch of stuff. But hopefully that was interesting. Actually, if anybody has any questions, feel free to send them through. Like I said, maybe I can try and send him a bunch of questions and do a follow up. But I will say the one thing that I don't know, I kind of disagree with him a little bit is I do think Netanyahu and Hamas are in this together. I really do. I feel like all of that stuff that he talked about, saying basically really what a bunch of idiots Hamas were to even do what they did October 7th. It's like that you just gave Netanyahu basically a lifeline. You gave him a second chance. And that's exactly why I think they're in it together. Because I think that dude knows that, and he knew that, and he knew he needed something. Seriously, a lot of parallels to 9/11. I mean, it's hard to remember 20 something years ago, but remember how much we all hated George W. Bush, or I wasn't even into it then, but so many people hated Bush. And there was so much going on with the debt and all of that stuff. And then all of a sudden, boom, towers come down. And, we've got a new enemy, and a new enemy that everybody was united under. So, anyway, I definitely see a lot of parallels with the past, 8 months in Israel with that stuff. And, oh man, pretty interesting. All right. Well, hey, hope you enjoyed that. Have a great weekend. Call a spade a spade. Let me know any questions, and we will talk to you soon.
The ending was terrific.
This episode was brought to you by the new book Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.